When I was growing up and I became a member of the Church of Christ, that's all I knew was Church of Christ. But when I went to Africa, they showed me who Jesus was. I was born and raised in a little small town called Nacogdoches, Texas. My father was a sharecropper. We owned our own land. My first year is when I was baptized there. Spent 2 years there. The president came up to me and asked me, "What are you going to do now? You're about to graduate?" I said, "I don't know where I'm going." And he said, "Why don't you apply to Abilene Christian?" And without thinking, I said, "I can't go there. They don't let black people go to that school." And he said, "Why don't you try anyway?" So I applied, and I got accepted.
He was the first African American that was admitted to Abilene Christian College, and that came with an entire set of experiences.
I was being monitored at all times. I was being watched everywhere I went.
He has shared stories about preaching at places, and when it came time to communion, they did not want him to reach his hand and take the bread from the same plate.
That was frustrating, to say the least. We'd met when he came there to go to school.
I changed my major from Bible to speech.
He was told by a professor on the first day of class, "You will not pass my class." And so he goes to class for the semester, gets down to the end, it's time to graduate, and literally got flunked.
I made a B. I didn't get my diploma. I did not graduate.
After the higher-ups audited and realized he did work to pass the class, "Oh, by the way, take this exam, send it in, and then we'll mail you your diploma in the mail."
I had gotten a letter from the Uptown Church of Christ in San Francisco wanting me to go to Ethiopia as a missionary.
The Curls were not the very first African Americans to serve in Africa, but they were one of the very first. God was arranging things for them and setting them up to do pioneering work.
The missionary in Ethiopia had a school for the deaf, and they needed someone that had the degrees in the pathology and also the preaching. And so he and Mary Curl were newly married and literally got on a plane right after the semester was over.
We decided to read up about it in an encyclopedia. That was my knowledge of Ethiopia, just what I read.
There were people trying to communicate and could not speak. And it really shook up the people, thinking that, oh my goodness, these kids are being possessed. When he started getting these kids to be just as disciplined as the others, it just really blew their minds.
To see how excited the kids were when they found out that they could learn even though they were deaf, that was powerful to me.
It just took off. And then we focused on going out.
The main thing was that make sure there was someone in the country who could continue the work.
The Ethiopians loved them so much because they were approachable. They listened. I read the sign that says the Church of Christ Mission. I followed that sign.
He says, "I want to know about this church." And I said, "Well, I'm going to give you this, and you studied this." And a couple of weeks later, he came back, and he says, "I studied them all, I want to be baptized." And we baptized him, he took off. Came back, and he says, "I need some Bibles, I've just baptized 100 people."
I was called the Paul of Ethiopia and the first countryside preacher. And the church grew.
came back, I said, I want to introduce Jesus to people.
Crenshaw was looking to have an African-American minister. And man, his church just blossomed.
You know, this is a person that's really respected.
Coming back from Africa, things are not the same. You don't see the world the same. And so it kind of led the way for us to have more of a global approach.
To share what it's like in Ethiopia, how they love God, how they serve God.
And to lead the cause for more African-American churches to be involved in missions for African countries.
We have seen it go from a handful of folk to where it is today. God is working with us, and we can see it, we can feel it, and we know it.
Then later on, I got a call asking me if I would be interested in being on the board of Abilene Christian. The relationship that we have with ACU is really awesome.
From Brother Curl growing up on the farm to Addis Ababa to Inglewood, you know, it's like that journey is just amazing.
I don't think he ever set out to do any of this. It was just God using him.
They opened their arms and they shared their feelings. And people felt that they were part of them.
He carries a lot of weight in terms of his influence on the city of Los Angeles and our brotherhood at large here in the United States and even abroad.
For our 2023 Crystal Global Award, we are incredibly honored to recognize the work of Billy and Mary Curl.